Day 8 started by leaving the building I slept in through the bathroom window. Then, to have a reminder about the dart in decent conditions, I marked its location in the map. Next, I went back inside the convenience store and checked what was behind the back door. To my delight, more boxes to loot. In the first, I found 3 bags of chips, 2 canned food in the second, some sweets in the third, other 3 canned food in the fourth, a single bag of chips in the sixth, and some extra cooking ingredients in the seventh. After that, I checked the wall metal shelf, only to find the agriculture level 2 skill book and some farming supplies. Next, in the wooden crates, I found a bag of chips in the first, 2 more in the second, and 3 canned food in the last one. Considering that to make them I would need carpentry level 7, I decided that was better to take all of them. Each has a weight of 7.5 kilos, so is not such a big deal. Then I went back to my car, only to fill up every single free space with loot. Now is only left to fill my inventory, and I can happily drive back home. But a zombie climbed through the window, and I had to deal with him first. I went back to my truck to check a thing, and immediately after, I heard another climb through the window. So I reached him and get rid of the problem. Then, taking a peek inside through the window, I saw another 2 rushing to their death. Seconds after, a third one joined the pile. Soon after, another climb over, and I had to kill him as well. And another one followed suit. Time to check the bodies and loot a paring knife, and I saw another group of 4 reaching my location. I dealt with the first, but the second was too fast before I can do a thing, and he pushed me down to the ground. Thankfully, I was fast enough to get up and run inside the store just to calm myself. In the process, my running leveled up. Then I went in the storage room so I can lure back in one of the Z outside. But another came through the door. So I had to deal with him first, and by the time I was done, the other one was on his feet. So I pushed him down and crashed his head. After that, I closed the back door of the storage in order to stop the flow and went back to the window in order to deal with the next that climbed through. For precaution reopening the back door, I executed a push, but nobody was on the other side. In fact, the banging was coming from the main entrance instead. After dealing with this one, I noticed that there was a next client at the end of the building. So after killing this last one, I started looting the corpses for any useful item. Plus, I picked up my cowboy hat that I lost falling down before. Then, following my curiosity instinct, I went back to the back door and found a zombie in the corridor to kill. Hearing more noise, I went to check the situation behind the store through the metal fence and saw a few Zeds in the other house. This is why I went back to the back door, so I could reach them. I got jump scared by a zombie that appeared from nowhere in the doorway and instinctively used the push button, then finished him off. While looting the last victim, another one approached me, so I taught him a lesson about minding his own business by literally emptying his mind. Despite I was out of breath, I still wanted to check what the horde was guarding, so I entered the backyard. Then I dealt with the Zed hiding behind the building wall. I was glad that I checked him because he had an ice axe for me. After that, I noticed that there was more near a construction area. So I decided to lure them in the corridor and start fighting them. I tried to land 2 zombie, one on top of the other, but the second was too fast on getting back up. So after both were down, I started stomping, but because I was out of breath, it took multiple hits to kill him that I had to push down one more time the second Zed. After that, I finished them both. Seconds after, another went for a hug, only to receive the boot treatment. Understanding that in my condition I would not prevail on the horde, I decided that was a good idea for a strategical retreat. So I went to my car, then before leaving, I killed the last one for the road. My travel back to base was uneventful thanks to my determination in killing any zombie I see in my way. So far, I was loving the adventures with my truck, so I decided to finally check its conditions. To my delight, I found out that it is almost new, and this lifted my mood, knowing that I will use it almost for the whole run. Next, I started unloading all of the loot I found so far, so I can organize it better in my base. First, I placed all of my canned food in its own dedicated kitchen cupboard, added my junk food and drinks to the fridge, left all of the electronic devices in the small bag on the table, while the tools in the trauma bag near the rifle. Then I placed down the garden basket on the table and added to it all of the seeds obtained in this run. After that, I placed down also the garbage bin near the last kitchen cupboard, so I would have a way to get rid of trash in my house. Then it was time to go upstairs to add all of my spare clothes in the clothing rack. Next, while adding the belts to my left bedroom cabinet, I decided to move the weapons I was holding inside downstairs and add them to the rest of the tools in the trauma bag. After that, I added my new medical supplies to the bathroom cabinet, followed by the literature and skill books in the bookshelf and the cooking ingredients in the kitchen cupboard to the right from the fridge. Despite I didn't mention it during this loot run, I also found another small backpack that I placed down on the table in order to use it as my storage for farming and husbandry supplies. Once done, I went in the basement, picked up the 2 televisions, and moved them with the rest in the metal shelf. To have a proper basement in the old television place, I added the 3 crates collected from the convenience store. Finally, I moved the large fridge parts behind the couch and combined them back together in order to have my own double fridge. While doing so, I gained another level in light-footed. When I was feeling good about this day, it finally happened. The helicopter was approaching my location. I was sure to know why the helicopter is here. So I took my radio and called my friend Arthur. The first thing I told him was, "How many times I told you, Arthur, don't call the damn helicopter. We don't need help, only to get as an answer."
"Oh well, yeah, I know what you said. I still called."
So next I asked him, "Well, when the helicopter and the law brings the horde on all of us, what then, Arthur?" As an answer from him I had,
"Well, I guess we'll have another fight on our hands."
Finally, I decided to finish this inconclusive discussion with, "I had a goddamn plan, Arthur." "Why? Why do you always has to be this way?" Looking around, initially I didn't saw a soul. I thought that I killed enough, so the helicopter event won't have any effect on my playthrough this time. But then I saw the first coming toward my location. In the hopes that there will be a limited amount of them, I decided to fight all of them while the helicopter is above my head. I pushed down the first 2, only to finish the first with my feet and the second with the metal bar because he was standing up. Then 2 more was approaching from the west and 1 from the south. Initially I wanted to push them down, but after zooming out, I noticed 2 more emerging from the tree line. This is why I started to use my broken lead pipe. Seconds after, even more appeared from nowhere. Initially I started to be excited to have a proper horde fight, but after they started to outflank me, I decided to stop wasting my energy and check the real numbers that I had to fight through. Seconds after, I understood that I would not have enough stamina to deal with all of them. So I started shouting in order to at least guide the horde away from my base. More were spawning all around the area, and while trying to avoid being surrounded, I tripped on a bush, scratching my right forearm. I immediately bandaged it and stopped running to conserve my energy. Then I moved toward the 1-story house in order to force the horde to follow me. But once I saw more on the road, I started to think that every single zombie from the northern part of Muldra was in my area. So I decided to spread the horde by going through the forest. Then it happened, I was started to be tired. This is no good at all. At this point, I was certain that my bravery was actually stupidity, and that I condemned this hero to a miserable death. I have nothing to lose at this point, so I decided to go back to my base. Is barricaded, I can sacrifice those barricades in order to sleep in my bedroom, and with new strength I would think tomorrow what to do next. Going back in the middle of the forest, I found a solitary Zed I disposed of. Then, to avoid that the horde will see me get back inside, I decided to cross the dense forest line. This resulted in scratching also my left arm. Ignoring the injury, I started running toward my way in and killed the zombie standing on my way. This caused me to now have not only the tired Moodle but also the out of breath. Finally, I was back in my base, but I didn't want to sacrifice my barricades, so I waited patiently in front of the window in order to try to kill anyone that saw me get inside. But then I noticed that instead one of them chose to go for my kitchen door instead. At this point, I knew this would be hell on earth soon enough. So I went upstairs and started to tear my belts, knowing that I would need a lot of bandages later. Tended to my wounds in the hope that they would heal fast and went back downstairs. I didn't hear anyone else attacking my base, so I decided to get out and deal with the one breaking my door. This was a fatal mistake because there was a group waiting outside. I had to fight them and get back inside before the rest of the horde will notice me. But then I saw more. Knowing I can't kill more than 3 at this point, I decided to circle around the car in order to reach my window and get back in. But 2 were banging on my door and I had no time to do so. After making sure they leave the door alone, at this point my only hope was to circle around the northern forest and try to get back inside. While doing so, I cut myself again on a bush, but it was no time to care about that right now. So I quickly got back inside through the window and went upstairs and finally tended to my right hand wound. I was too tired and too exhausted to even hope to flee. Sure, I can try to get in my truck and try to use it as a weapon, but the chances that I could reach it in my conditions was too low. By the amount of breaking barricades, I knew that I have a limited amount of time to get something from downstairs before my first floor would be lost. So I went to my fridge and the only thing I took was a beer to calm the pain and sleep through the night. Got back in my bedroom, drunk only a quarter to have more for later, and went to bed.